What's going on? Welcome to the Bottom Line Podcast, your home for sports and entertainment talk. I'm Jimmy Fedizzi. I hope that you're doing well. As always, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to take a listen. Much appreciated. Be sure to hit us up on all social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at BottomLine WMCX, and don't forget to use hashtag BottomLine. Also, if you like what you see and or hear, make sure you subscribe on all audio platforms, including Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Amazon Music, Podbean. We are all over the freaking map, people. We are everywhere. So subscribe on all audio platforms, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell so you don't miss an episode. Include Jimmy when searching for this podcast. All right. So I've got a pretty interesting episode for you today, as I am not going to be doing that much talking. And the reason why I say that is because I'm going to share with you a topic that recently came up in discussion in the National Football League with the New York Giants. And there was a quarterback, or there is a quarterback, in the free agent market that honestly I was not expecting to come up. And his name is Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah, you all remember him. Chicago Bears, all that stuff. Spent 1 year with the Buffalo Bills. But anyway, the reason why I bring him up is because the Giants are supposedly going to heavily try to pursue him to come to the Giants to compete with Daniel Jones for the starting quarterback job. Now, for those that don't know, the Giants recently declined Daniel Jones's fifth-year option, which means this is essentially it for him. Either he shows something or he's out. But if the Giants bring Mitchell Trubisky in the fold, things could get very, very interesting in that organization. So with that being said, and for those that are unaware, I am with a new company called Can You Dig Sports Network, or the Can You Dig Radio Network, and I was a guest on their show, In the Huddle, which is from Monday through Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You should listen to it, again, on Can You Dig Radio Network. That's their first take debate show. But I was a guest on there, and we brought up this topic, and I gave my thoughts on whether or not they should sign him. And let's just say things got a little bit heated. I'll let you take a listen. I'll let this segment do the talking, but basically here are my thoughts on whether the Giants should sign Mitchell Trubisky. Oh, and by the way, I just want to apologize in advance for any loud audio issues that may take place. They like to up the volume on this show, meaning Jaleel Lewis, or AKA Real Leo. You got Zach, you got Zay, you got Coach, you got everybody involved. It's such a good show. So again, with that being said, I gave my thoughts on Mitch Trubisky signing with the Giants, whether or not they should, and things got a bit heated between that. I'll let you take a listen for yourself. Enjoy.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think yes. I think they should. And let me explain my reasoning here. First of all, they declined Daniel Jones's fifth-year option, right? So that obviously means that either he does something this year or you're done. Now, for my argument's sake, I think that he probably should have been done after this last season, because while he did show a teeny bit of improvement, did anything really jump out at you? Not really. So look, I like the kid. I want Daniel Jones to succeed in this league, but I'm sorry, he's just not cut to be a starting quarterback, especially when it comes to the New York Giants. I personally think that Mitch Trubisky would be a much better fit on the Giants, because people forget that he was with Brian Daboll in Buffalo. And I just love it how he spent 1 year on the bench learning behind Josh Allen. And all of a sudden, his name is probably one of the most attractive names on the market. Really? When was the last time you heard Mitch Trubisky's name? In relevancy? Probably years ago when he was first drafted, but that's beside the point. Look, Mitchell Trubisky's tenure with the Bears, yes, it wasn't all that great, but when you really consider all that they went through, especially now with Justin Fields, do you really think that all that time everything that went wrong was on Mitch Trubisky, do you really think? Did you ever think about this possibility that maybe, just maybe, it was on the coaching staff? It was on Matt Nagy? It was on Adam Gase? It was on all those guys? Did you ever think about that for a second? So, Mitch Trubisky, I think, look, the kid's, he's 27 years old. He's my age, okay? So, he still has a lot of potential in this league to be great. He just needs the right system. And with the Giants, with what they're doing, with Joe Shane at the helm and Brian Daboll as their head coach, I think that's a great system for him. Now, I understand you're going to tell me, oh, well, what about with the weapons that he has? Kenny Galladay has been an absolute bust. Well, time out for a second. Kenny Galladay, it's been 1 year, okay? He has not been a quote-unquote bust. He had one awful season with the Giants. Now, has he been all that all-time great receiver? No, I can argue that because, look, he was on the Lions. I understand that he was on the Lions. But even still, I think Kenny Galladay's got potential to be a decent, solid receiver. And with Trubisky at the helm, I think those two can really do some things. Now, with that being said, I understand that the connection between him and Brian Daboll has been very, very good. But here's the thing. You don't necessarily have to go to Mitchell Trubisky. There are plenty of other free agent quarterbacks on the market. There's Marcus Mariota, there's Case Keenum, there's Tyrod Taylor, heck, even Jacoby Brissett, I could argue, okay? So, you could go for any of those guys, but in my personal opinion, the better option is Mitchell Trubisky.
Wow. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just wanted to real quick, just kind of to say, I actually agree with Jimmy.
Say, I feel like we've been simpatico this entire show. That's why I love you, man.
Yeah,
I love everybody on the show, but Zay and I have been pretty much simpatico this entire show. But
listen,
I'm sorry.
No. Of course, listen. Talking about Mr. Trubisky, you're gonna get a lot of emotions out of everybody. Because that's not an easy name to put in that rotation. You know, his numbers from his statistical standpoint haven't been pleasing. But you have to think about the core coaches he had on his team, the play callers he had on his team, arguably really bad. You know, on the Bears, he had some really bad play callers. You know, and that year on the bench with the Buffalo Bills, you sat and saw some winning football. You saw what works. You practiced with these guys on a night-in-night-out basis. You literally was in practice with the number one defense in the league at the time. You were the number one offense in the league as well. Explosive. You see what could work with Coach DeBull. I don't know his name. I say the Bull. I call him the Bull because the reason why I call him the Bull is because he was running Josh Allen to the ground, literally from passing, running. Every play was Josh Allen.
That's fair.
Yeah, but the reason why I say you have to look at Mitch Trubisky and say I could possibly see him as my quarterback is because 3 out of the 4 seasons he was starting, he has a winning record. He does. That's a good thing to look at. Quarterbacks that can win games, know how to win games. On a Chicago Bears team, like I said, that didn't have a flowing offense. They didn't have consistent playmakers on the field year in, year out. They didn't have the best roster, and he went to a playoff.
Yeah, twice.
Yes. He took the Bears to the playoffs twice. Now, did he play extremely well? No. He made one year he had 303 yards, 1 touchdown. You know, that's a good stat line in the playoffs. But he didn't play well, and that's okay. And they ran him out of Chicago because he wasn't the quote-unquote savior of that franchise when that franchise wasn't really doing much justice for him. He had guys in and out the rotation. His best players, offensive playmakers, were hurt majority of the season. And that's something that you can't take away from Mr. Trubisky. Now, that being all said, you know, you're bringing in a guy who he learned the offense from all the way in Buffalo, going to New York Giants. Of course, you look at Mr. Trubisky and say maybe he knows the playbook that he's gonna run. Bring him to the Giants. He knows the playbook already. He has a year in that system. Right. You put him in the Giants, he knows the system. He already knows it like the back of his hand. He could work with this team. Now, are they gonna be winning the division? I'm not gonna say that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they're winning the division. They don't have talent on offense. They don't have the talented receivers. Their running back is questionable with Saquon Barkley. He's always hurt. But he knows the system. You want a quarterback that knows the system already. But one thing I'm gonna say for sure is that even if you don't go with Mr. Trubisky, Daniel Jones is still an enticing option at that quarterback spot because where this guy comes from, he was running Josh Allen with passing plays, running plays. He does it all. Daniel Jones is good on his feet. He can throw the football. Maybe he can work with him and develop him into a skill set that Josh Allen got. You know, remember Josh Allen when he came into the league, no one anticipated Josh Allen being this. Nobody anticipated. I'm sorry. Will Adamas anticipated Josh Allen being an MVP.
Zach will tell you that. He said it too. He said I said it. I definitely did.
But alright, I'm sorry.
I'm a quarterback.
I'm sorry. I can't talk to everybody. But the consensus was Josh Allen wasn't the guy for Buffalo. It was a consensus. They didn't think Josh Allen was going to be the franchise quarterback for this team, and he wound up being it. Getting paid all that money. So you go with Mitch, or you go with Daniel Jones, but I feel like it brings in the competitive edge with Mitch Trubisky as a starting QB in the New York Giants. I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants went and signed him, and he became that starting QB in New York Giants because he knows the playbook already. I wouldn't be surprised.
Thank you. I disagree. Slightly.
Okay.
This is slight.
Keyword.
Slight. This is slight.
I'm very curious to hear this.
Thank you, Coach, for the slight part, so people can understand that slightly is close, but not just there, right?
Okay.
Now, the reason why I say that, if you want to have these two bums going at it and duke it out for the starting job, that's on you. By all means, let these two bums go at it and duke it out to see which bum overtops the other bump. That's fine. Okay, that's cool with me. Now, with that being said, you know, James, I want to reflect to you real quickly here before I pick up the pace here.
Sure.
What are some of the Giants' holes that you see? Because you watch this team on a daily basis. I can tell you right off the rip, quarterback, offensive line, but you watch the team week to week. You know, what are some of the holes that you see on the Giants team outside of quarterbacks? Let's go down the list.
Dude, they need everything, dude. They still need to fix the O-line, which hasn't been fixed in 5 years. Okay, they need better defense. They need a running back who can stay healthy, and they need a competent coaching system that will work for said quarterback. And with the coaching system that they have, I think Trubisky will be a great fit. Now, having said that, let's keep going here. I mentioned the O-line. They obviously need better receivers. Okay.
Yep.
Again, look, I'm willing to give Kenny Galladay another chance, but even still, if you can get better weapons, you can get another wide receiver. They just cut Kyle Rudolph, so obviously you need a tight end. Bottom line, they need everything.
Everything. All right. Let me pick up the pace here. They need everything. O-line, quarterback, tight end. They need it, right? So what are you doing over?
Oh, also, I forgot to mention this. I'm sorry, Leo. They also need a safety.
They need some cheerleaders too. They need other those too. Look,
that'll never happen, but all right.
They need everything. And what do you get out of overpaying a backup quarterback who still we don't know is that guy? You talking about $20 million you're gonna have to pay for a backup quarterback. Maybe you throw caution and win. Maybe he wins the job, but then you pay in Jones. So you still gonna have, overpriced quarterbacks there duking it out. One is gonna be on the bench. One is gonna start. I don't get what you do out of that, what you get out of that when you still have holes that you need to plug in. Maybe you save some of that money and start filling these gaps and hope that the quarterback guru and Brian Dable will be able to enhance Daniel Jones' play because he did with Josh Allen. Now, let me make this clear. Daniel Jones and Josh Allen are two different quarterbacks, two different skill sets. Josh Allen, all you need, he had the physical attributes already. All he needed was an uptick in efficiency and being able to be efficient with the ball, which is different from Daniel Jones. But at the same time, you still have a lot of holes. I'm not about to overpay for a quarterback who I know is not the guaranteed quarterback.
Hold on a minute. I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize, but who said anything about overpaying Trubisky? Why can't you stop to a 1 year deal? You can't do that?
I risk it. Approve it deal. You're talking about like at least $20 million here. At least, possibly.
Okay.
$20 million.
That's not overpaying for anybody.
And look at you. What are your cap situation looking like? He's spooky. It's spooky. So you pick him up, you got a cap situation, but your cap is tight.
I understand that. That's why they started cutting players like Kyle Rudolph. They cut Devontae Booker. They're saving a calories.
They're trying to, but they still have holes, and I'm just not about to pick up a quarterback.
I get that.
I'm not going to pick up another bum to duke it out with another bum. I think so many people are taking that one preseason game that they saw Mitch Trubisky and making it seem like he's the next coming to Joe Montana. Stop it. He's not.
I am in no way in hell saying that. No way. No way.
Can I just chime in real quick?
I think he is better than Daniel Jones, but I'm not going to go as far as say he's the next Joe Montana. Come on. Really?
Can I just chime in real quick? Because I think we're ignoring that he has a winning record as a starting QB in this league Something the Giants haven't had a winning quarterback since Daniel Jones came into the league. They haven't had a winning season since Daniel Jones. One thing I will give Mitch Trubisky, and I will never take this away from him. He has won games with less. Remember, that Bears defense was holding him up for a while, but Mitch Trubisky was winning games with nothing on that offense because they were all hurt. He had to go with third-string receivers, and then the Chicago Bears third-string receivers could be fans. They could have been fans. Hey, we need somebody. Come down. That's how bad it was. He played in a tumultuous environment. Remember, this is something that a lot of Bears players have said. The Chicago Bears have one of the sorriest fields in the NFL. This stadium is terrible. So the fact that he's able to win games,
iconic as Soldier Field is, I have heard that it's not the most appealing field ever.
The fact that he's able to win games with third-string offensive options, with bad play callers, with bad coaches, and he's able to still pull out victories or victorious seasons, you have to look at Mitch Trubisky and say, we can give you a shot. The Steelers are doing their due diligence on Mitch Trubisky. And the Steelers don't make mistakes on free agencies. That's one thing they don't do. They bring in the guys they need, and
the Giants do. And the fact that this is, conversations for the Giants is scary to me because I'm lying. What did they free agent moves that they did last year do? What did Kenny Galladay do? Well, they didn't even get 500 yards last year. Get out of here.
It was 1 year.
Get out of here with that, bro.
My God.
You didn't even get 5. You know what I'm saying? Kyle Rudolph, cut the dude. Come on, bro. All that time.
I'm not calling Mr. Trubisky the franchise QB here.
No.
Is that the topic? Hold on. Is that the topic?
Barkley with the number 2 pick. They picked Daniel Jones. They've been making mistakes. Are you kidding me? They haven't been making mistakes. Am I lying?
Time out. Coach, I'll let you jump on the floor in a second. Leo, nobody is saying here. Nobody is sitting here and saying that the Giants haven't made mistakes. Of course they have. Look, I've argued, and I'll say it again. You don't take a running back with the 2nd overall pick. You don't do that. And I will still argue that till the cows come home. But the bottom line is this. I look at a guy like Mitch Trubisky and I'm saying, look, he's no scrub. He can play. So what? Look, nobody's talking about overpaying for a guy like Mitch Trubisky. I'm not gonna go out there and sign him to like a 5-year contract. That'd be ludicrous. I'm saying go out there, sign him to
Chris. Sign him to a 1-year. Look it out with Daniel Jones. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on. Let me ask you this. Who would you? I know you call them both bums, but who would you rather have, Mitch Trubisky or Daniel Jones? Pick one.
If you want to start week 1, week 1 right now.
Daniel Jones, bro. I'm sorry.
What? Come on. No.
Daniel Jones' problem.
You just lost the argument. The fact that you said Daniel Jones, you would rather have him.
I'm a quarterback guy.
Who is proven to win games?
I'm a quarterback guru. The reason why I say Daniel Jones.
Oh my God.
Despite Daniel Jones' biggest problem has always been the turnover issue, right? That's been his biggest.
I agree with that. I agree.
I get it.
Absolutely.
But when I look at Mitch Trubisky, I never sat there and say this guy's a starting quarterback in this league. I never felt that way. I just never did. Listen, I know Matt Nagy's Matt Nagy, but at one point people thought Matt Nagy was a quarterback guru. Wasn't it? Wasn't he? Before his stock went down, wasn't he known as a quarterback guru?
I agree with that.
One day, I seen bums made the playoffs. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl as a starting quarterback, but he's clearly a backup. You think he go on any other team and he win another Super Bowl? Hell no. Look, you can get to the playoffs. Jimmy Garoppolo got to a Super Bowl. You can get there every once in a while, but I need to see some consistency, and I haven't seen it. I just saw one playoff preseason game. Preseason, where I saw it, I said, you know what? All right, Trubisky, I'll see you a little bit, but it's a preseason game. Am I going to hold the preseason game the same way I'm going to hold the playoff and regular season game? Hell no. I'm
not doing that either. Oh. Coach, you want to get in here before I lose my mind, please?
I forgot.
You good, gentlemen.
Oh my goodness.
I want to bring one coach real quick. I just want to bring up one stat line, and that's what Mr. Trubisky. He said he wanted to see playoff numbers. His first playoff game in 2018, he threw for 303 yards and a touchdown.
Well, eye test, please. Eye test. All right, Dak Prescott.
That's the eye test. He won a division that year too. He won Aaron Rodgers' division that year.
Before he got hurt. Is Dak Prescott that dude? No, he's not. I don't care about stats. I'm talking about eye test. With your own 2 eyes, does that look like a starter to you? Coach, does that look like a starter to you?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Lil, there's one thing that you always preach: no risk it, no biscuit, right? So
thank you.
I would not mind.
I don't risk it with bums.
Yes, I would not mind spending $20 million on Mitchell Trubisky on that 1 year.
Thank you.
Look at what's going to happen. Look, number one, Brian Dable. You saw what he did in Buffalo. You saw the development.
Daniel Jones.
Oh my God.
Number two,
Jones.
Number two, it brings competition to New York now. So now, like, what's his name? Daniel Jones don't have the keys to the starting quarterback position. Now I say he has to prove it.
I was gonna say he won't have the keys. He won't have the keys if he can't do anything this year.
There you go.
He'll be out the door.
Number three, Mitchell Trubisky spent a year in Buffalo, so he knows the system. And just like what Jimmy said, he went against that defense, that number 1 ranked defense in practice, day in and day out. You get what I mean? Mm-hmm. So in other words, like, he's familiar. He's familiar in tough situations. Okay, so I do believe that bringing in Trubisky to New York not only enhanced competition, but also too is going to bring situations where, let's just say, if Daniel Jones don't perform at that high level, you bring in Trubisky. You saw what happened. You've seen situations where, like, quarterbacks come in, former, like, starting quarterbacks come in and they enhance a team winning record. Tannehill, he took over Mariota's record. Took over Mariota's starting job. What happened? Boom. They end up being a playoff team. I'm not saying the Giants going to be contenders. I'm not saying the Giants going to win the division. But in other words, I do believe that the Giants will have a better season with Mitchell Trubisky than what they did with Daniel Jones the past 4 years. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, like the main argument, you're acting as if I'm saying that the Giants are automatically Super Bowl contenders with Trubisky. Hell no, I'm not. I'm not saying that. They're not making the playoffs. They are not making the playoffs this year. Absolutely not. But am I going to sit here and say that they could possibly win 6 or 7 games? Yes. Hell freaking yes, they can.
All I'm saying, right, is that yes, you can go by the numbers if you want, right? Everybody want to pick up numbers, like numbers mean everything. Trubisky, 29 and 21 as a starter, right? 37 interceptions, 87.2 passer rating. I get it, right? But Chicago had one of the best defenses in the league at that time when he was on that team. The defense was in its prime. And that defense, from my eye test, when I watched that game or those games, thought that team was good enough to bring that team to the playoffs. Had Mr. Trubisky made some plays? Of course you're going to make some plays if you're starting every single game. You're going to make a play. You're not going to throw an interception every play. You're going to have some flashes where you be like, oh, okay, I see something. And then where we test to see if you're really starting quarterback or not, you know where we value that and how we value that and how we determine that? In late game situations, crucial situations, playoffs. That's how we determine if you're a starting quarterback. And I had not seen nothing in those situations that has told me or signified to me that he's a starting quarterback. So what I'm saying is I'm not about to pay $15, $20 million for a backup quarterback not guaranteed to start when I have so many holes on the team that needs to be addressed when I could eventually move on from Daniel Jones in the future and get me a starting quarterback for this team. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Forget Mitchell Trubisky for a second. Who would you want the Giants to get?
Yes.
Well, depending on their record, depending on where they are in the draft, find the quarterback. Because they need
no. Hold, time out. So you would rather them risk drafting a quarterback again and have them not Daniel Jones?
No, they might not draft the quarterback this year. They might not. They're probably not going to draft the quarterback this year. You go into the season, you address your needs. What's wrong with rebuilding? You're rebuilding. The Giants for so long has hovered around, we trying to contend, we trying to rebuild. Last year, the moves that they made during free agency, that's not a rebuilding mindset. That's we can contend.
Leo, I'll give you that. Leo,
so they need to choose. They need to choose. They need to say, listen, are we trying to add to the roster and compete for a championship? Because that's what they showed us their mindset was. Clearly, it wasn't. So that's wasted money. Now you got to cut guys and things of that nature. Now you have to realize that we are a rebuilding team. There's no such thing as in the middle. You're rebuilding or you're contending. They're not contending. They're rebuilding. Throw Daniel Jones out there, keep on adding to the roster, and then later on find you a quarterback and try to contend. That's all I'm saying.
So
I mean,
come on, bro.
go ahead, Coach.
You know in your heart that's a good point. You know in the heart. You see these Giants.
Listen, man.
I don't disagree with that. But my main thing for the Giants in this draft, I'll let you go in a sec, Zay, I apologize. The main thing in this draft is that they need to go O-line. They absolutely need to go O-line. Forget everything else. As much as they need everything, they need to rebuild that O-line so that whoever is starting for the Giants has a chance to do something.
There you go.
Forget the fact that Mitch Trubisky may not even be on the Giants. Any starting quarterback would be good with a decent offensive line. If the Giants can do that, now we're getting places.
We headed for time. Zay, take us home.
Real quick, man, and I think this is the most important thing because the Giants getting Mitch Trubisky, it doesn't, like Lo said, it's not the future, it's not the franchise, it's kind of a temporary installment to whatever they're trying to do in New York, and I understand that. But you're bringing in a guy who knows the system and under the coach that they currently have. That's something you should do and something that it makes most sense because this guy knows the system. You also get the players involved quicker when the quarterback already knows the system, the guys already know the system, and maybe they click in cylinders. Is it going to be a division winner? No, it's not. The Giants are far, far away from any kind of contendency for the team. So,
exactly.
Mitch Trubisky makes sense for this guy. For his team, for competitive reasons, but if not, watch him go to the Steelers and watch him go to the playoffs, because that's what's going to wind up happening when he goes to Pittsburgh, going to the playoffs. I'm telling you this now, Lil. If Mitch Trubisky gets signed to the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are going to the playoffs, and you hear it here first.
You forgot about Joe Burrow.
I happen to agree with you.
You forgot about Lamar Jackson. You forgot about Joe Burrow. You forgot about a talented Browns team despite the quarterback. Yeah, I'm not buying it. You can miss me with that, and you can miss me with the left foot like Mike Tyson too, brother, because I am not buying that, and I damn sure saw that.
You see what I mean? Yeah, it got that heated. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on Mitch Trubisky possibly signing with the Giants and whether or not they should. What do you think? Should the Giants go after him? And if they do, what can you expect yourself? Let us know on all social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at BottomLineWMCX. And don't forget to use hashtag BottomLine. And again, if you like what you saw and heard, please subscribe on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, TuneIn Radio, Podbean, and on YouTube. Include Jimmy when searching for this podcast. Should the Giants go after Mitch Trubisky? Let me know what you think. I'm Jimmy Finizzi. This is the Bottom Line Podcast. See you in the next episode. Peace and take care.